Donald Bundy of Remington, or father of Remington, sorry.
Ariel Berger here on behalf of Father Donald Bundy.
Okay, Ms. Heiss. Thank you, Your Honor. I was able to visit with this child in person and a lot of strengths happening. Really appreciate all the service workers' notes. We had psychological evaluations this time. These service providers are catching really intricate things at this point. You know, the bond has been, the foundation has been laid, and they're finding, I think it was car insurance or something was due, and the parents hadn't planned, and the support person helped them plan ahead. And what's really cool is these parents are willing to rely on family to get back on their feet and to get a good understanding of their duty as parenting. So they live with paternal grandparents, and paternal grandparents charge them rent, which is helpful to us so that they can understand what it takes, how much work it takes to support a household so they can be independent at some point, but there's no rush. The placement, paternal grandparents had saved some of the rent money back and had it ready when this extra bill came up. So it's just such an amazing team of people working together. I intend in the future to really encourage parents to seek out family members. They are very motivated to help their own. So this is a really great example. I look forward to closing this eventually, but just so many strengths. The child has all of his needs met. He's growing and meeting milestones, and this father had a case before. Mom has a case open, and she's at a visit in Macomb County with those kids, and she's almost doing well enough to maybe resurrect that case. I'm not sure, but she knows she's doing well. I know that she'll zoom in if she can, but in her absence, I just want to say that it's that relationship that she's built with those paternal grandparents. She respects, she knows her role. That it's just a really great environment, and I encourage the agency to continue to not emphasize independent housing, because this is a real multi-generational success, and the child is really benefiting. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Witnesses today, Ms. Thomas.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would ask that Ms. Dillon be sworn in to provide her report.
Ms. Dillon, come on up for witness stand.
You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Ms. Dillon, you have been the foster care worker for this case, correct?
Yes.
And you provided a court report for today's hearing. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And in your report, there are several attachments, but I just want to make sure, are there any updates or modifications that you are aware of that need to be made to your report or any of the attached documents?
Just a couple little things. Mr. Bundy is no longer working at the Advanced Auto. He is now working for Bundy's Lawn Service. So he continues to have and maintain employment. I met with both parents yesterday, the placement and the child, and both parents recognize right now they have areas that they need to address. Mr. Bundy is willing to check into a medication assessment just to see if that would be helpful for him and to address his anxiety and his ADHD. And Ms. Gleason is recognizing that her depression's getting a little bit worse right now. So she's got a med review scheduled today so she can address having her medication increased if needed. So both parents are working on communicating, acknowledging things, and willing to address with their services and such. It is the hopes that the parent education program will be done by the end of the first week of November. And at that point, if a 90-day review is to occur after that, if the parents continue to progress as they are, then it's hopeful that we can ask for an FRP recommendation at that point. But today's hearing, I would like to ask for discretion to go to unsupervised visitation for Ms. Gleason immediately, and then Mr. Bundy when he's ready.
And at this time, what is the substantial risk of harm if the child were to be in the parent's care and custody solely? I know that the family is living together, but if the family weren't living together, what would that risk of harm be?
At this point, we haven't had unsupervised parenting time. We haven't finished the parent education program. There's little things that the parents would like to address as far as their medication to address their mental health. I think in the near future, we will be looking at reunification, but at this point right now, I just don't think the parents are fully ready to parent full-time.
And overall, how would you describe
The family strength and support network shine in early updates.
each parent's their respective compliance with and benefit from their acute service plan?
Both parents are completely compliant. They're doing everything that's been asked. They go above and beyond and seek out additional services for themselves when they feel they need it. Mr. Bundy's gonna work on his focus. He's doing a great job with parenting his son, but he needs to make sure he maintains that focus fully. And, you know, part of that can be caused by the anxiety and the ADHD. So they're both, in my opinion, completely compliant.
And just to confirm or clarify, any efforts or reasonable accommodations that are being made to ensure that both parents understand what is required of them, the reports that are written, they understand what is being written about them, anything that you are doing to ensure that?
Yes, I do review the reports with both clients. They also have the support of Linda Edwards to review any of the reports, and Ms. Edwards does periodically go through the case service plan with them just to make sure that they're on track and they know what's expected. But yes, they have service providers as well as the maternal great grandparents of Remington that review paperwork and help them answer questions when they need it.
Wonderful. In some of the reports, there still seems to be a little bit of a concern about the focus as it relates to dad. And is that what you are also referring to during the parenting time, focus on the child? When you're talking about maybe perhaps needing a psychiatric evaluation to determine whether medication is appropriate?
Yes.
Okay. Is the child getting any sibling visits?
Yes, he is attending this, the parenting time in Macomb County at least once a month. I think at this point it has been at least twice a month. And then Mr. Bundy has children that are not under the jurisdiction of any court, and Remington is able to visit with them when dad sees them.
Okay, and thank you for clarifying that. I was a little confused from the report. I know that there's a release or adoption and wasn't sure dad's parenting time with his children. So I appreciate that clarification. Are there any outstanding needs that this family has or the child has that are not being addressed quite yet?
Not at this time. They have all the services in place to address their needs. They're actively participating in those services. It is the hopes that if they continue with the progress they're making at this point, we can be asking for FRP at the 90-day review.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything else you would like to bring to the court's attention today?
No.
Thank you. With that, Your Honor, I will move to admit the court report and its attachments.
No objections.
No objection.
No objection.
Thank you. They are received. Questions, Ms. Berger?
None, Your Honor.
Mr. McCrum?
Do you agree with the guardian ad litem's assessment that the extended family situation is a good living environment?
Yes.
Okay. And there's no need for them to seek any independent living, that they have suitable housing. Would that be agreed?
Correct.
Okay. And when you mentioned the FRP program, that's a family reunification program, which is kind of a step before case closure. Am I correct?
Yes.
Nothing further.
I have no questions.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you for your testimony. You may return to your seat. Any other witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Berger?
Mr. Bundy, do you have anything you want to testify to today?
No.
Okay, I have no witnesses then, Your Honor.
Mr. McCrum?
Unless my client has rejoined us, no, Your Honor.
She has, but I'm not sure what her connectivity is. I know she's able to probably hear us, but I'm not sure she'd be able to participate.
If she can't participate, the no, so it's been a very positive report.
Yes,
No witnesses today, thank you.
any comments?
None, Your Honor, just asking for a standard 90-day review. Thank you.
Likewise, Your Honor, I would just ask that the department continue to work with my client. It looks like we are actually nearing a possibility of formal reunification in this case, so that's wonderful. And I would just encourage my client to continue doing what he's doing. Thank you.
I'm not sure when my client joined, so for her benefit, I appreciate that the agency reports she's in complete compliance, which means she's doing everything she's supposed to do. They're requesting unsupervised parenting time moving forward for her, which is also a very good positive. They also mirror the response of the guardian ad litem, and that the living situation with extended family is a good thing for everybody. And lastly, we agree with the expectation of the agency that after the next 90-day review, we'll move into a case closure by transitioning into a family reunification program, which is a step before closing the case. So complete compliance, I don't think you can get any better than that, Your Honor.
No comments, thank you.
All right. For our next review, Ms. Berger, could you tell me, are you available Monday, October 23rd at 2:30 or 3:30?
I'm available anytime that afternoon, Your Honor.
Your Honor,
Unavailable?
I
we're-
am available.
I'm sorry, I couldn't understand you.
I am available that day.
Good, okay.
because that's not the full 90 days, it's not anticipated that FRP would be done. I wonder if we could do the whole 90 days so that we can, have a promise, but either way is fine.
All right, that will take us out to November 14th would be our full 90 days. But if anything happens, that doesn't leave us any room for adjournment, right? So that's why I usually build in a couple weeks at least to do that, but I'm happy to go the full 90 if everybody's available the 14th. I have all day, so if there's a time, Ms. Berger's usually our hardest one to work around. So if there's a time that day or on the 13th, at this point, I can accommodate that, Ms. Berger.
I'm available on the 14th, Your Honor.
All right, we can start at 9.
Yes, Your Honor, thank you.
So we'll set our next review for Tuesday, November 14th at 9 a.m. In the meantime, the court does find that all interested parties are given notice for purposes of today's review hearing, but hear that the family is doing well and functioning in a fashion that is meeting the child's needs. I will grant the request to expand parenting time to include unsupervised. I'm happy to do that. I would encourage Mr. Bundy to continue looking at what you need to do to continue to be successful. Congratulations on that.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. Congratulations also to Ms. Gleason for her progress, and to both of you for acknowledging that using the help of your family is the wisest under the circumstances and is in the best interest of your child. The placement with relatives will continue pending further reviews with the expansion of parenting time and the understanding that those services continue to be needed. I'm familiar with the family and the parents, and I know that there's a long history here. So I will be looking for you and Ms. Gleason to continue to demonstrate that you can be successful in the long term so that we know that your son will be in good hands for the long run, not simply the short. So that being said, his placement will continue with relatives pending our next review hearing. We do find Ms. Heiss to be in compliance with her obligations. Thank you. Thank you. As well as Ms. Dillon, thank you for your efforts.
One question, Your Honor. Will you be requiring my client's presence as she seems to have connectivity issues next time?
Well, we'd love to have her available to us to participate. So if she'd like to participate, then that will be necessary.
I would just encourage her on the record if you could show up so we can
Yeah,
get this piece.
yeah, if you're able to be here, I think that would be best.
That's her visit day with the other kids in the school.
Oh.
So the visitation will resume for the kids in Macomb County after school hours.
Okay.
School, so that's why we'll change the date. for
Okay.
visitations.
So it will be clear for her at 9 a.m. We encourage her to come by in person.
Thank you, Eric.
Yes, very well. All right, unless there's any questions, I'm gonna go ahead and cut the order that reflects my findings today, and we'll see you all November 14th at 9.
Thank you.
Parents are following guidance, but challenges with mental health and focus linger.
Here we are on the record finally at some delay. Thank you for your patience for the review in this case.
Ariel Berger here on behalf of Father Donald Bundy.
Donald Bundy, a father.
Thank you. All right, I think this is our first regular review. A second, I look forward to the updates. Ms. Heiss, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. I visited with the child in person. His needs are being met in this. You'll recall the parents are living with the paternal grandparents. Really great environment. Linda Edwards is very invested in succeeding in this case. You'll remember that mother has 2 older children who are in foster care in the Detroit area. And she's been really stepping up her game with those kids too. And with all these resources in place, I thought it was interesting that I think mom and dad are no longer in a romantic relationship, which is, I didn't anticipate. So, well, it'll be interesting to see how this, since they're at the paternal grandparents' house, how this shakes out. But the child's needs are all met. I agree with the agency that we just need another 90-day review. Thank you.
Okay. Testimony, Ms. Thomas.
Thank you, Honor. Ms. Young, can you sworn in?
Stand this afternoon, yeah.
You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes. Ms. Young, I just want to clarify a couple of things. The cover sheet I have in my files, I think are for a different case. So I just want to clarify what documents that you brought or that you attached to this court report. If you can please go through what you have.
Well, the cover sheet that I have is correct, but I do have court report, case service span, the orchards reports, which also includes the closing report, parent aid reports from Linda Edwards, the JC-12 with the proof of service, and then there's drug screen results for both parents. Okay, I apologize if it's incorrect. I have the correct one printed. It's not necessary. So.
And I'm sorry if I missed this. It looks like there's like a couple of screens maybe from forensic fluids.
Correct, those are the 2 drug screens that I was referencing. There's one for each parent.
And then the visitation logs, there are several of those, correct?
That's correct.
And that's from Ms. Linda Edwards.
The parent aid reports, and then there's orchard reports. So the orchard reports would be the parenting logs, the weekly logs, and then we also have the termination report in there.
Okay, thank you. Your Honor, may I inquire from the court and fellow counsel if their cover sheet is for the Mansky Schmidt matter?
For what?
Mansky Schmidt.
Mine is for the other case.
Oh, that's serious.
I think we could just strike a cover
Yeah,
sheet.
that'd be mine.
That's my have no objection.
What are we striking?
The cover sheet, Your Honor.
I was just referencing another case and how the outlay was, because I'm filling in for another worker in this case, so I didn't have a Word document version of any of this, so all of this was all new using the format, so I apologize.
Okay, sorry, maybe I missed it, but I mean, mine appears to be.
Okay. It might be accurate because I believe that you probably filed yours in person.
I emailed it all.
Okay, Deputy, will you circulate this and to the attorneys to make sure that we all know the same thing?
Right, I think that this is what's in question, this cover letter.
Okay.
Everything else should be. Let's have my copy. Like,
Oh, we're striking it, I don't need it.
Right, yeah.
that's fine.
We're good.
Yeah.
Straight.
Okay,
All right.
good.
Thank you, Dave.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, Ms. Young, as relates to the child, and during this review period, does there still remain risk of harm if the child were to be returned solely to the parent's care and custody today?
At this time, yes.
And can you briefly explain what that risk of harm is?
At this time, I mean, they're still working on completing their services. As I stated, there is another case for Ms. Gleason out of Macomb County. So she's also working that case services plan on top of this one. And at this time, Ms. Gleason does not have a vehicle for transportation. She was in a second car accident. This reporting period, one that is noted and referenced in one of the parent aid reports from Ms. Edwards from October. She was in an accident where she fell asleep at the field. There was another accident right before Thanksgiving where she also fell asleep at the wheel, crossed the center line and hit another vehicle. So at this time, there is still a risk of harm. Trying to kind of get to the bottom of kind of what happened with that incident. Making better decisions as far as financially, kind of working with Ms. Edwards, making sure that they have adequate funds to support themselves and their child. They don't have housing of their own. They're currently living with placement. So ideally, we would like them to be able to continue to work that budget with Ms. Edwards so that they can work on living independently and have sufficient funds to meet all of those needs. That would be for both parents.
I believe there's been some previous discussion about whether the need to live independently is a must. I know that you were not the foster care worker probably during those discussions, but if the family is agreeable to the parents remaining there, that would be okay. But it looks like in your court report that there should be some sort of financial contribution to the household. Is that accurate?
That is correct. Yes.
And how in your report indicates that it's there needs to be some reminders around that. Is that still true?
Yes, Ms. Edwards has been working with them on that as well as the caregivers. We had a family team meeting a couple of weeks ago to kind of go over some of those details and discuss kind of what that plan looks like. From what was reported to me was that both parents were kind of off track with some of that. They were not saving adequately, like how they had originally had planned to do. They were kind of going through their funds, purchasing things that they didn't necessarily need, but we've kind of discussed ways that we can try to get back on track. So I asked the parents, what are some things that we can try to help support you? We put together a list of things that they felt that would be beneficial, and for both of them, signing up for MRS services to try to enroll in some sort of program for schooling to try to better their education and figure out what kind of trades they could go into. So I spoke to them before the court hearing today. They were both working on, they had completed that MRS application, turned those in. So they're working with a worker in that program to try to enroll in some schooling. They've also expressed wanting to get a second job to kind of help meet some of those financial needs. Mr. Bundy did indicate that he had filled out 2 applications and was working on a couple of more. And he was going to get me copies of the applications that he filled out. And then I know Ms. Gleason, she had indicated that she was also working on trying to secure a second job as well.
Okay.
Every decision now could move the family closer to reunification or prolonged supervision.
As relates to compliance with the service plan, how would you generally summarize each parent's level of compliance with and benefit from the case service plan?
As I noted in the court report in each individual section, they're overall partially compliant. They are trying to work on their case service plan for the most part. There are a few hiccups here and there throughout this reporting period. As for instance, the car accident, car accidents, I should say, both of them. So now, trying to secure transportation. In the meantime, there's reliance on the caregivers to help transport to and from visits, to and from work, and so forth. So Ms. Edwards is working with Ms. Gleason on that. So, they're trying to work out a plan. To kind of get back on track. There's just, like I said, some minor hiccups with that. As far as Mr. Bundy, he's still partially compliant. One of the concerns was that he's not complying with his medication regimen that he was going through with ACPC, and just making sure we're getting back on track with that, and have an understanding as to why the need for those medications from when he originally signed up for that. So getting back on track with that as well for him. And then Ms. Gleason as well, I forgot to mention too, the therapeutic section. She was discharged from Ms. Moore's care. She had missed several appointments and Ms. Moore refused service beyond that point. So she's now enrolled with a different therapist. So I'm working on trying to get the release sent over to that new therapist to ensure that we have a description of kind of what the goals and everything that she's going to be working on in therapy. So as of right now, I would definitely, both are partially progressing in their case service plan.
And do you believe that they're progressing enough to still continue towards the goal of reunification?
Yes.
Are there any additional services that the department has offered this review period to assist in addressing the barriers to reunification?
As I mentioned, we discussed trying to put in more supports as far as like MRS services. We can offer some additional things as far as meeting the needs in the workforce or getting more skilled training to get higher paying jobs that they both expressed that they wanted to do. Ms. Dutton indicated she wanted to kind of go to vet tech school. So MRS is working with her to try to get her enrolled into a program that will meet her needs. They both have expressed some cognitive concerns. So MRS we felt was a really good fit for them to kind of work with them to meet those needs in whatever program they enroll in. And that goes with Mr. Bunny as well. He also expressed wanting to go into like a mechanic school, eventually, wanting to open his own shop. So he's got some good goals, both of them, to try to meet some of those financial needs in the future. So.
Thank you. Is there anything you'd like to point out from your court report or any of the additional reports, like parent aid logs or anything like that, for the court's attention today?
The only thing I was going back through the termination report as far as the parenting education, where they're scoring, where their levels were at pre-test, post-test. There were some sections that showed a decrease in understanding, and I don't know, without really having a conversation with the worker who issued those assessments, I'd want a better understanding of kind of what went into that, because this is the report that we get that just shows, oh, they have a decrease in understanding of certain levels. But overall, like they completed the program successfully, and Ms. Edwards has indicated too that she's observed both parents with the child, and she didn't have any noted concerns as far as their care for him while in that supervised setting.
Right, thank you. Your Honor, I have no further questions and move to admit the court report with the attachments.
No objection.
No objection.
No objection.
Thank you, they are admitted. Cross-examination, Ms. Berger.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Young, what things should my client work on first?
As far as your client, really just getting back established with ACPC and making sure we're getting back on track with his medication regimen and having a good understanding as to why he's on those medications and the benefits for him. Because it's my understanding in reading some of his information from the previous workers that was for the anxiety concerns. And a lot of times, we go off of those medications, but some of those symptoms come back. And it's from my understanding, speaking with the relatives, that sometimes he does get very anxious and he has a lot of those symptoms coming back. And we found out he's not taking the medications as prescribed. So first and foremost, I really would like him to really sit down with his provider, have that discussion with them, get back on track where he needs to be with his mental health, and ensuring that he's able to meet his own mental health needs, so he can kind of better the situation with his child.
And how are visits going?
From my understanding and speaking of the caregivers and reading the reports from Ms. Edwards and Orchard's, visits are going well. I was able to observe him out here before court. Both parents are very attentive to his needs, changing his diaper, walking him up and down the hallways, feeding him his bottle, and just giving him that attention. I mean, and the child was very happy. He's very excited to have both the parents here. So he's a very active little guy.
Okay, thank you.
I know you said or at least alluded to that my client has some disabilities, right? Cognitive
From
disabilities.
what she's reported, yes.
Okay. And I don't see in your report the American Disabilities, the ADA compliance with those. What are we doing to attempt to navigate her disabilities?
Well, her and I provided her an application for MRS. She was able to get that filled out with Ms. Edwards' help, and those were turned in. So MRS specifically works with those who have any sort of disability and helps them further education, setting up with further services and so forth. So that right there is meeting those ADA standards.
The budgeting issue, is it that my client does not write out a budget, or is it that she doesn't adhere to the budget that she drafts? What is the budget issue?
It's more of adhering to it and not communicating with either Ms. Edwards or the caregivers as far as what they have already outlined as part of those services.
She has a budget which so much is for transportation, so much is for housing, so much is for this, and she's just not keeping with it. Is that what I'm hearing?
From my understanding, yes.
Okay. How much is her, where she's living, how much are they requesting for rent or contribution for food or anything like that?
I don't know the specifics without looking back.
You don't have to look
here.
it up, but have they provided that to her so she knows?
Yes, they work on that weekly.
Okay,
So
great.
from my understanding, I believe it's about 400 for rent, about 120 for food. And I don't know as far as the transportation, because that's a newer thing that we're gonna have to kind of work into that budget, since the transportation has now been lost. She's not relying on it. So that's a newer thing that we're gonna have to work into that budget.
She doesn't have a vehicle. Are you providing gas vouchers? I know she would like some.
I have not, but that's something that we can definitely discuss and try to work on getting for her.
How long has she been without a vehicle?
I think it was 11/21, I believe was the accident.
We're almost a month in, and you haven't even asked her about if she needs any help with gas vouchers?
We haven't talked about that yet, no, but that's something that I do plan to talk to them about, because there was, Ms. Edwards was working with her on the budget and everything to try to figure out what the needs are.
I realize there's a couple weeks delay when she told you about the accident, right?
Correct.
My understanding is that it was not a criminal. She was given a civil ticket, not a criminal ticket. Is that my understanding?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't handle any of that stuff legally, so I'm not for sure what type of ticket it was.
Well, in your report, it indicates that she didn't notify you about any crimes or other things. You're not saying that the accident was a crime, it's just that she didn't notify you soon enough, that 2 weeks was too long. Is that what I'm hearing?
We didn't hear about it until about 2 weeks after the accident, so correct, yeah. We were not notified that she was even in an accident and that there was any concerns that she didn't have transportation and some of those needs were not being met. So it wasn't until we sat down in that family team meeting that I was even aware any of that was going on.
So when you found out 2 weeks after the accident that she didn't have transportation, what did you do to secure her transportation?
Objection, Your Honor. The testimony wasn't that she didn't have transportation.
The future of the child hangs in balance depending on parents' continued progress.
Her own car is broken, but transportation is covered for this person.
Maybe I misheard. I thought you said she didn't have transportation. Was I wrong?
She herself does not have her own transportation, but as Ms. Heiss stated, that she does have transportation in relying on the caregiver as well as Mr. Bundy.
Okay, thank you. I did misunderstand your apologize. Just a couple questions. If she's gonna go to school, will she be able to work and still have income or not?
I would have to discuss that with MRS and kind of figure out what that plan would look like, because I don't know as far as schooling days, times, anything like that. That was just secured. So we
Okay.
just got the application filled out, turned in, MRS met with her to try to discuss getting into the vet tech school.
So, as was asked of father, where should mom's focus be on this case service plan right now?
Really just continuing to get back on the budgeting, so that way they have some, the income set aside for what they need as far as, meeting the minor child's needs, meeting their needs, making sure that she's got certain amount set aside for what they have budgeted out for. Like I said, I don't have the budget specifically in front of me, exactly what it's outlined as, for what Linda Edwards had worked with them on, but, you know, it basically, you know, the rent payments, the food assistance, any transportation needs that will now have to be added into that. And it's not every single transportation need. As far as the sibling contact out in Macomb County, the agency helps placement reimburse that amount to the placement directly. So she's not necessarily needing gas vouchers for that specifically. We're already paying placement for the sibling contact. So
last
to
question,
get to and from work.
last question. Since my client is living with the placement, what's the real risk of harm if this case just closes because she's there? Placement will still be there.
Well, a lot of it is just, you know, making sure that the child is safe. I mean, as of right now, I mean, she's not gonna be able to transport the child around until, you know, she's able to kind of figure out if she have a medical problem going on, which is causing her to fall asleep at the wheel. Because that's 2 incidents this reporting period of car accidents where she fell asleep at the wheel and wrecked her vehicle. So there are some concerns with that, as well as, you know, ensuring that, you know, there's good communication, especially for the minor child. A lot of reliance is being on the caregivers to help, you know, really take care of this child when they're not around, they're not communicating their whereabouts. So, you know, making sure that there's good, solid communication between all parties to meet his needs.
Thank you. Nothing further.
We have not evaluated either mom or dad as an independent household for reunification with this child, correct?
Correct.
So we're evaluating the family as a whole with the placement, correct?
That's correct.
Is this child, I couldn't open it fast enough, is this child placed with mom and dad or placed with that placement?
They're placed with the placement with the parents allowing to be in the residence.
And that placement helps with transportation up to visit the other children in Macomb County, correct?
Correct.
So it's a very positive environment. It supports the child and he's meeting all his developmental milestones, is that right?
Correct.
So if mom and dad are gonna choose to have different housing, is that something that's happening right now?
As of right now, they're all residing together. They don't have a plan that I'm aware of as to, you know, having separate households. If it comes to that point, then that would be something that we would need to assess, that whole situation.
Do you see eventually, if it was in 2 review periods or 3 review periods, if things are stable and the parents are living with the grandparents, that we would close the case?
Potentially, as long as, you know, they're meeting all the requirements of the service plan and ensuring that there's no more barriers, then absolutely, we could look at closing. They've got adequate supports to the placement. You know, they've been very supported through this whole ordeal, whether they're together or they're not together. They've provided a home, they've provided placement for the child, they, you know, trying to work with them on budgeting and helping, you know, learn some of those life skills for them, as well as, you know, helping with the child and any developmental needs that he has.
So we're not necessarily looking or pressuring the family to be independent households for mom or dad for reunification?
At this time, no. But in the future, if that's something that we need to assess, then absolutely we would look at that.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
Is allowing these 2 parents to reside with the grandparents who are trying to care for this child a sustainable situation for the placement?
That's a good question. I mean, I think a lot of it comes down to, you know, being able to tolerate I mean, mom and dad, they're adults. They're gonna be coming and going. And we understand that. They both have jobs, they have, you know, lives of their own, but they also have this minor child together. And making sure that, you know, they're the ones that are helping to meet this child's needs as their parents, allowing the grandparents to be, well, great grandparents to the child. You know, with their support and guidance, I mean, it could happen, but I don't think in the long run that's necessarily what grandma and grandpa want. They want them to be independent. They want them to be able to care for their child.
In the event that these 2 parents are unable to demonstrate sustained progress in these areas that they're weak in at the moment, is this placement available for exploration of adoption or guardianship?
Yes, we did discuss that, actually, that was something that got brought up during the family team meeting.
What is their position on those two options?
They did express that, you know, if reunification is not successful, that they would absolutely adopt this child.
What about guardianship?
We did not discuss guardianship necessarily. I mean, we just mainly had that discussion. It was a very open discussion about everything that was going on. We discussed a little bit of kind of what was going on with the Macomb County case, and just kind of trying to figure out a plan to kind of get back on track with their budgeting and so forth, and, you know, kind of figure out moving forward what steps we all needed to take.
Do you know what the status is on the Macomb case? I noticed in the LML Parent Aid monthly reports from October, November, there's a reference that there's a PPO and a show cause.
There is. I don't know the specific details because I'm not a part of the PPO hearing necessarily. I know Mom can probably provide some more updates on that information. I don't know what's happened with that. I believe there was a recent hearing. We haven't yet had that discussion as to how that went. But she has some upcoming hearings, I believe in early January. The date I'm right now, but in early January, I believe there is an updated hearing for the Macomb case. That'll give us a little bit more detail as to kind of what's going on their end. Because it's also my understanding the father on that case, they're moving towards reunification with him. So yeah, there's a lot of moving parts to everything that's going on.
Yes, did you have any concerns about when Ms. Gleason is getting into these car accidents that was drug related?
Not necessarily. We haven't had any of those concerns on our end. Macomb County had indicated that she had clean drug screens, so they took her off of the drug screen regimen. I mean, if that's something that the courts are concerned with, we'll incorporate that in if we need to.
Well, if she's citing that it's a side effect of her medications, is she on psychiatric medications?
I believe so, through ACPC, I think. Right.
All right. So maybe an update from them the next time around to make sure that she's doing what she's supposed to be doing on that end could be useful.
Okay. I was gonna try to get copies of the police reports too and just kind of see what it states in there as far as if they had issued a drug test or alcohol test or what specifically they did. But I haven't had a chance. I was out sick a good chunk of last week, so just trying to kind of get caught back up on some things.
I understand. Thank you. Back to the other issue on permanency, is the placement interested in securing licensing, or have they applied for that, or are they licensed?
Relatives provide critical support, highlighting the fragility of the current arrangement.
I don't believe they're licensed. They're not required to be licensed as relative placements, but I'd have to look back and see in the notes if they were pursuing licensing or not. It's my understanding, no.
Okay. If we were to look at guardianship as an alternative permanency planning goal, given the bond between this child and both parents, I know they have to reside with the child for 6 months. Is that 6 months as a licensed placement?
I'd have to look specifically at what the policy states on that. I know in order to receive subsidy, they would have to be licensed. As far as placement, I know for adoption and guardianship, I think they have to be in the placement for at least 6 months prior to being finalized. So I don't know specifically exactly if it's post or pre-licensing. But I will look into that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And then if you could, among all the other things you're working on, maybe approach the subject of licensing with the placement. Yeah. Right, redirect, Ms. Thomas.
I actually just have one matter of housekeeping that I forgot to address. Direct, if that's okay.
Go ahead.
May I push the witness?
You may.
Ms. Young, I'm handing you a document that you provided to me. Can you just briefly, for the record, indicate what that document is?
Yes, this is the the case service plan parent agency agreement for the respondent parents.
And how does that differ from the one that you've included in your court report?
The one I included in the court report, I did not have signatures on. Again, I was sick all last week, so I was not able to meet with them face to face. I obtained the signature prior to court and made copies for court.
Okay, and is it your wish that the court accept that case service plan as the signed case service plan in lieu of the one that you provided when you filed the court report?
Yes.
Thank you. I would ask the court accepts this signed case service plan in lieu of the one that was attached to the report and its various attachments.
No objection.
No objection.
No objection.
Thank you. It will be received. Okay, thank you so much. I have it. Good. Any other questions for this witness before we let her step down?
No.
No, Your Honor.
No, no.
Nope.
Okay, thank you for your testimony. I think may I return to your seat. Ms. Thomas, anyone else you'd like us to hear from?
That's Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Berger,
No objection.
Mr. McFarland,
No, you are.
Ms. Hess.
No witnesses, thank you.
Comments?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
I think it's clear from the worker's testimony where my client needs to focus. And I'm hopeful that, you know, she can pursue maybe a different career. Budgeting seems to be an issue, transportation, and of course the case that's ongoing. So she realizes that this is not as good of a progress report as she had last time. And she will accept any help she can to get back up there, Your Honor.
Ms. Berger, any comments?
Judge, we're just asking for another review period. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Hess.
Your Honor, I really liked your line of questioning. I have talked to the placement many times about what their thoughts are, and they are even intending to build this other house that has an independent apartment on it. And they will do whatever they need to for Remington, even though Donald is their relative. They've always helped Donald his whole life, and he's an adult, but Remington seems to be their priority. So I asked them early on, you know, if when you support Jessica, she and the baby are gonna go on their way someday. At that time, they were a couple. But at this time, without them being a couple, I see that if we were to close the case eventually and say that this is such a strong family unit, and they, you know, I quiz them about who gets up with the baby at night, and it's Jessica. And I ask about, and I ask who's sharing the duties and who's mixing the bottles and who's doing this and who's doing that. But I do see that the success of this family is them all being together. If we were to close, Jessica could take that baby and move. And I don't know that she'd be successful independently. And I've asked the caseworker over such a long period of time not to force this family into separating so that we can test Jessica, but I don't know what else we're gonna do because we're only testing the family as a unit. And unless we close the plan case with, you know, the safety plan that she lives there where grandma and grandpa, grandmother is not foster licensed, but she does have a career in schools and with children and I think even special ed. So I think she'd be willing to get licensed and look at a guardianship and that grandma makes sure that this little girl sees her other, this little boy sees his adopted sister and so many strengths, but I do see a problem that I don't know how we're ever gonna get permanence if we're evaluating the parents with the support of this family. And yet I don't wanna disrupt it. So I appreciated your line of questioning and I have nothing further.
Thank you. Well, the court finds all interested parties were given notice for purposes of today's review hearing. It is not unsurprising to me, unfortunately, that we have seen some backsliding from these parents in this last report period. That seems to be pretty consistent, frankly, with the history that this court is familiar with. So I'll just remind both of you that we need to see you stepping up and doing what you need to do and going to your therapy and taking your medications and managing your funds. What it looks like to me from here is that the grandparents will be the ones providing the primary parent duty, whether that's by guardianship or adoption, unless the two of you step up in the next report period. Because at that point, we'll be in over 6 months, we'll be in at 9 months, I think, at that point. And if it's working that way, then we'll just structure it legally so that it can continue working that way. I'm not interested in fixing something if it isn't broken. So if this is the arrangement that works for your family, then let's legalize it and get it in place. But if it's a situation where you want to be able to take full primary responsibility for your children, then I'm going to need you to start acting like it. So for those reasons, all the reasons that were expressed on the record today, the child is in the safest and least restrictive relative placement, doing very well in that placement, able to visit with both parents. That seems to be going well. That's great. So despite the setbacks, it's working and the current arrangement that it's in, which is great. But like I said before, if you want it to change, we'll need to see that demonstrated very visibly in the next report period. I'll look forward to more updates next time on the status of the Macomb County issues and all the other areas. But until we see both parents with reliable transportation, employment, income, participating and leading in the caretaking of this child, attending doctor's visits, and doing all of the things that we would look for a primary parent to do, the child will remain placed in a relative care, and with the relatives having the primary responsibility and authority over that child. So we will have that placement that's the safest and least restrictive. I will also warn you, frankly, that if you compromise this relative placement, it will be you I will be asking to step out of the house, not Remington. So please be cognizant of that and tread with that in mind. It sounds like you're doing okay on that perspective, but if taking your anxiety medication means that you get along better with your parents, then that's what I expect you to do. Because if it falls apart, you're the one I'm asking to move out, not yourself. Understood?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, great. Great, we will allow all of those things to remain in place. Thank you to our caseworker, our guardian ad litem, your full satisfaction of the allegations, to our advocates. We'll look at a review and a permanency planning hearing on Tuesday, March 12th at 2:30. And we'll look at your progress again at that point. Unless there's any questions, that's all for today. Tuesday, the 12th.
Judge delivers warning. Child stays with relatives for safety. Parents must prove reliability or risk losing primary care of their child permanently. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next video.